Hi guys, so today I want to share some tutorials for exercises that I use to coach people on meat hooks. Meat hooks are a really cool skill in aerial. They're quite challenging to be perfectly honest, but when done well, they're made to look very, very easy. And I think there's quite a big misunderstanding around some of the techniques. So I see a lot of people struggle with this skill because they basically don't have their shoulder and hips in the right position. So the hips should be up by the wrists. And in order to have your hips lifted so high, you need to be pulling your shoulder blade back and down. So your shoulder blade is squeezed and pulling away from you. And a lot of people don't understand how to initiate that movement. They don't understand how to retract their scapula in a meat hook. And so, because of that, the shoulder blade and the shoulder rounds forwards, the back is in the wrong position, it's not straight, it's rounded, and then the hips drop. And that is a very, very difficult position to balance on one arm. If you get the muscles engaged in the correct way, it becomes a lot easier to hold this position and you're using bigger, stronger muscles to support that position. So I'm sharing 4 tutorials that I really love to use to help my clients with meat hooks. One of them is a single arm drill that teaches you how to engage the scapula in the way that we want for our meat hook. One of them focuses on learning how to weight shift in our straddle. So understanding how to actually load the arm when we're in an inverted hanging position to then be able to move the legs and the hips for the meat hook. Another drill is for bigger weight shifts and starting to transition our legs. And the final drill is just a floor drill that I really like to use, which involves building more core compression and rotation through the spine, which is super useful for our meat hook. So give these a watch. Feel free to add them into your training if you're getting started with meat hooks or you just want to be stronger at your meat hook and see how you find them.
So I use this drill to help with understanding the shoulder and scapular engagement for a meat hook. It's a really nice single arm exercise to build straight arm strength as well. So I want to set my equipment quite low to ideally have my body horizontal. My shoulders are a little bit low here, they could be slightly higher, but you can adjust it to what feels comfortable. And then trying to keep my body still, and I'm squeezing my glutes to keep my hips lifted as well. I'm going to retract my shoulder blade. So I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blade on the supporting arm and pull my shoulder back, and I lift and then I come back down. So this is the same position that we want for our meat hook. Obviously our arm and body are slightly differently placed, but it's the same muscle engagement that we're training with this. Like I said, the glutes are engaged so that our posterior chain is working and supporting the movement, but the actual movement itself is coming from the shoulder and the scapula. And I'm really trying to keep everything as still as possible apart from the supporting arm and shoulder.
So we're going to have a look at weight shifting for our meat hook. This is a concept that comes from hand balancing. So it's used for learning to one-arm handstand. So the idea is that you are supporting your body weight through 2 arms, you shift the weight into one arm, and then you can bring the other arm off. And that concept of weight shifting is actually really applicable to any kind of single arm hang in aerial. And I think it's a step that often gets missed and kind of overlooked. And I think working on this for better understanding of what's happening in our meat hook is super important. And it's also just a great drill for building more strength and body awareness. So I'm gonna demonstrate by coming onto the rings and inverting. So I will first want to make sure that I'm in a really good setup in my invert. So my back is not rounded and my hips are not dropped. My hips are up by my wrists and I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together, pushing my chest forwards, actively pulling my feet down to the ground, compressing at the hips. From here, I'm going to pull my shoulder blade back for my right side and try and take more weight through my right arm. And you'll see my body naturally starts to move across. I'm then going to come back to neutral and I'm going to try and pull the shoulder blade back even more and pull harder with my left arm. And the weight shifts across to my left side. And then I'm going to come back to the middle. So I'm essentially doing this movement. So I'll show you from behind, squeezing one shoulder blade harder than the other, trying to pull the shoulder back. I'm trying to do this, but my arm is here, in front of my body. So this is the very first thing we want to initiate for our meat hook before we start moving our legs and our body across and around our arm. And it often gets skipped. If we try and move our body first and then figure out the position that we want for our shoulder and upper back, it's a lot harder to do when we've got more weight loaded through the arm. So this is a really helpful exercise for understanding how to load our body weight into one arm, shoulder and shoulder blade, without having to figure out anything else in the rest of our body. And it also helps to build more strength because of how we're pulling. So it should feel like one side of the body becomes a lot heavier and the other side of the body becomes lighter. Because we're staying in a straddle, you're not going to be in a position where you can let go with the other arm, so definitely don't do that. This is a 2-arm drill, but we're just focusing on shifting the weight into one side of the body, and we're initiating that with our pull from our shoulder and upper back, and then coming back to neutral and shifting weight into the other side of the body. So this is the very first step before we even look at things like TikToks, moving the legs, etc. And we want to make sure we're super comfortable, and we understand the concept of weight shifting from side to side in our invert. We're going to have a look at a meat hook progression. So this is a really nice drill for starting to understand how it feels to move one leg from one side of the body to the other, and just build that strength and awareness with this movement. So I'm going to show you 3 different versions. There are 3 different positions that we can move our leg to, and you can work on the one that is most appropriate for where you are now. So let's take a look. I had to set my rings quite low to the ground, so that I've got space to move my legs easily, but that's fine, we'll just work with that. So I'm going to invert, making sure I'm in a good position to start with, so squeezing the shoulder blades, chest is forwards, compressing at the hips. I'm going to weight shift into my right arm, and then I'm going to lift my left leg up to the pole, and then I'm going to come back. Other side, come back. So this is version 1. Version 2 is weight shift to one side, bring my leg to the inside of the other pole. As I do this, my right leg is pulling down towards the floor to help shift the weight across. Let's show that on the other side. So you can see my right leg comes down. The last version is all the way to the inside of the pole. So we've got 3 different variations there, depending on how hard you want to make it for yourself. So we're either bringing our leg across to the outside of the strap that's on the same side, or we're bringing it to the inside of the strap that's on the other side, or we're going around and bringing it to the outside of the strap that is on the other side of the body. So 3 different versions, and you can work on the one that feels best for where you are now. We're going to look at single leg V-ups with a twist. So this is an exercise that I use as a bit of fun conditioning for meat hooks, but it's just really good for your core strength and control in general. I'm going to start from a hollow body position. So the only thing that is on the floor is my bum, lower back, mid back. My shoulder blades are off the floor, my legs are off the floor, arms are overhead. I'm thinking about pushing my core down towards my spine in this dish position. From here, I'm going to lift one leg, keeping the other leg off the floor but down, and I'm sitting up on my bum. So this is my single leg V sit. And then in this position, I'm going to reach the spare arm away from me and try and twist. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a twist through the middle of my spine. We don't twist in such an extreme way in our meat hook, but it's really helpful to train our end ranges of motion so that when we are doing something that requires a little bit of twisting or opening through the middle, that strength and control is already there. So again, coming up, I think elbow to knee, I push against this leg and I twist to try and keep my balance. Come back to my hollow body, sit up, elbow to knee, twist, open the chest, and come back. So one leg comes up to meet one arm, and then I twist and open in this position. If you're struggling with keeping your balance, then what I recommend is that instead of reaching this arm to the side, put it on the floor and then twist. And then you've got just a little bit of support to help with the balance, and you can focus on that rotation through the spine and that core and compression through the middle of the body and hips.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope that this was helpful. Hopefully this gave you a bit more of like an entry point into working towards meat hooks, and some of these drills can be implemented into your own training. So obviously everything in this video is not exactly what you need for a meat hook. Like, there are other things that you need to work on alongside drills like this. This is not the blueprint to getting your meat hook, but these are just some drills that I think the majority of people will find helpful because of what they focus on, because they're working on things like the scapular engagement, building strength in an accessible way, and then truly understanding the weight shifting concept around achieving a meat hook. If you have any questions about them, feel free to post in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more. And I will see you in the next video.